Now, former President Jacob Zuma has lambasted President Cyril Ramaphosa for his open letter to ANC members. Our politics editor, Ngalwa, joins me now. Sbu, thank you so much for your time. What do we make of this letter by former President Jacob Zuma?
Well, it is quite unprecedented, the level of attack coming from former President Zuma. But remember, it's not the first time that former presidents have written letters to the incumbents. It happened with former President Mbeki when he wrote to President Zuma while he was in office. But it's the tone and the language that is used. What is quite unprecedented is the level of attack where he actually accuses the president of not only lacking an understanding of the ANC, but also of betraying the leader, the ANC's past leaders, going as far as saying that the president is pretty much a white lackey, a lackey of white capital, if you will. And he goes further, Munati, and actually says that the president is accused, because remember President Ramaphosa wrote a letter 7 days ago where he said that the ANC is accused, number one, and where he lambasted corruption and drew a line in the sand, pretty much. So what President Zuma is saying is actually saying that in saying so, in writing that letter to the ANC's over 1 million members, the president is actually apportioning blame on them and freeing himself of blame, where he says that the majority of the ANC's members are not owners of companies. They are not involved in PE corruption, so it is actually unfair for the president to accuse them. It sounds like a plausible argument, but the reality is that what the president was saying was to decry what the ANC has become, where its leaders are self-serving, seem to be self-serving and not representing the views of society.
In fact, he says, Mr. President, by stating that the ANC stands as accused number one in respect of the charge of corruption, you implicate thousands of innocent members of the ANC who continue to face hunger and dehumanizing poverty and have never benefited from corruption. Is Jacob Zuma the right person to be writing this letter?
Obviously, I think the context is important, because remember there's this crucial NEC meeting that it starts today. And if you look at Jacob Zuma's letter, in tone and also some of the issues that it highlights, it is actually not so much different from the letter that was written by one Andile Lungisa coming out of Port Elizabeth, where they want to shine the light on the issue of the funding of President Ramaphosa's funding, the whole issue of the CR17 campaign. Obviously, now they want it to be an issue that is dealt with by the ANC's NEC, which is why they are raising all these things. So it may seem like Jacob Zuma is raising these things as a virtuous member of the ANC, but the reality is that it's politics at play, and the reality is that the ANC, in fact, the outcome of this NEC meeting of this weekend will determine where the power lies within the ANC. Lastly, one thing that people should look out for is that the letter is actually addressed to the president and the national chairperson, and not the Secretary General, Ace Makashule. And I think that was deliberated, actually quite telling, because Jacob Zuma is considered to be close to Makashule. So perhaps in the fact that the letter has ended up being leaked publicly, that's something that they would never have wanted to have, where Makashule is accused of leaking it. But the reality is that I think that's quite telling. But also more importantly, for me, if you look at the tone and the accusations, actually it looks like it's a disciplinary issue for the ANC. Julius Malema was expelled from the ANC for far less. What the ANC does with this letter is up to the party. It remains to be seen.
I mean, it's interesting that you're saying that it's not the first time that presidents have been writing letters to each other, but I want to reference something else that he said. He says, your actions are unprecedented in this regard. Mr. President, you are indeed the first president of the ANC to stand in public and accuse the ANC of criminality, and that the ANC must be the accused number one as accusations of corruption mount.
Look, the issue is it's not the first time that an ANC leader has spoken about the rot and the level of corruption within the party. I mean, you can argue for whether an open letter is the right way to go about it, but countless ANC documents going back to the past conferences of the ANC speak of the character of the ANC and what the ANC has become. You can go back to the time when Kgalema Motlanthe was Secretary General, Gwede Mantashe, and up to the current leadership of the ANC. It's actually not new. But what may be new is the fact that this is an open letter. But the reality is that ANC documents are not private, they are public documents.
Of course, this NEC meeting that's happening this weekend is also starting a number of things that are happening, big stories coming out of KZN as well. What do we make about the about turn by the KZN ANC structure as it relates to Zandile Gumede?
Obviously, the ANC in KZN had to eat humble pie. It was not unexpected, because we did report, we did say yesterday that already flowing from the National Working Committee meeting of the ANC on Monday, there was already a recommendation which was meant to be ratified by the NEC this weekend. I think that what ANC in KZN was doing was just to save face, because it's not like now they've suddenly realized that Zandile Gumede is not suitable. They actually didn't want to have to be seen to have been chastised by the NEC, but rather to take the action themselves. But if you look at what they've done, they are one of the biggest provinces of the ANC. They are actually, by asking Zandile Gumede and Mike Mabuya Kulu to step aside, they're actually setting the tone for other regions and other areas of the ANC, and actually setting the tone for the NEC. So all of these letters that are flowing from all directions, all of it is intended at the soul of the ANC, who will emerge victorious. I know I'm describing in such terms, but the reality is this NEC meeting will tell us which grouping or whose voice is more powerful between that of that grouping led by the President Ramaphosa or the faction of the ANC that is led by its Secretary General, Isma Khashoggi.
Okay, Sbu, thank you so much for that analysis, very well articulated. Sbu Ngalwa, our politics editor, just reacting basically on what's happening politically in the country. Former President Jacob Zuma has lambasted President Cyril Ramaphosa for his open letter to ANC members.